You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Away we go. It is Thursday, September 11th. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, the Thursday edition, the latest summer edition, I guess you can call it, Leafs Morning Take, presented by Bet365. How are we, Rosie?
Oh, not bad, man. Kind of somber times in the world today for more reasons than one. My goodness, man. What a time to be alive. How about you?
Can you believe it is the 24th anniversary of 9/11? Like, I feel like still like it was just yesterday. It was still obviously one of those moments where you remember where you are, but it's incredible to think next year, the 25th anniversary of 9/11. Nuts.
I know we keep talking about how we're getting old because things like that keep getting big numbers behind them as far as how long ago they happened. But yeah, that was a massive, massive deal. I remember I was going to junior high school. I remember I was making eggs in the family kitchen, and my mom's like, something's going on in New York. And this, the smoke was coming out of the building, and the second one had been hit. And we went over to the Cowan set to get the truck and came over. Me, my brother, and my sister were going to ride to school. And by the time we pulled back up to the house, the first tower had fallen. And yeah, shit had just hit the fan. When we got to school, it was on in the library, and just a crazy, crazy time for the world and the United States in particular.
It's pretty interesting how things shape life. For example, my brother is a firefighter because of 9/11. Like, ever since 9/11, he's like, this is what I want to do. Then there's a documentary that came out with the Proby firefighter. I think that was the first video of the plane hitting the tower. I don't know if you saw that documentary. But yeah, I'll always recall where I was, man. It was like an eerie feeling. I would think it was in grade 7 or 8, and we were at recess, and people just started to talk about it. And then naturally, as the day went on, our teacher's like, we can't do work today. So like, I think there was a point in time where we went to the library and watched like sort of what was going on. And I think at that age too, you never really understood the magnitude. I think a lot of people in general in lifetime didn't understand the magnitude of what that day meant and what was going on. Like, it doesn't really cross your mind, and you watch it happen in real time. And it's just one of those things that always resonate. Like, I still remember thinking about 9/11, and not to compare the two, but like in school we learned about like World War I, World War II. I think for years to come that's going to be in the curriculum, and it should be. And it's just a wild day, and to think that we're like 24 years after the fact, it's just one of those days that I'll always remember the rest of my life.
Yeah, I can't imagine being from New York or working in Manhattan, what that day and week would have been like for everybody. Just like a dream. But wild times, and Charlie Kirk last night getting assassinated. It's just crazy times politically. It's sad that things haven't gotten any better. They've gotten worse, to be honest, since then. But yeah, here it's good to think back and remember 9/11 and what happened and pay attention to those things. Not to be that guy, but Tower 7 was a third skyscraper tower that pancaked in its own footprint, and I cannot seem to wrap my mind around how that is possible. But that's a rabbit hole for another day.
Definitely. Well said. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. I felt it was necessary to start, obviously, today's show on that type of note, just because of everything happening, and obviously today being the 24th anniversary of 9/11, but to bigger and brighter things, I would say, for real life, and obviously getting past that, it's just so difficult. But producer Vic is on the road today. He is out at a college I think he's at a college scouting for new interns. So I ask you this, Rosie. What would the prototypical intern look for Jay Rosehill? Like, do you think this guy's just going to come back with some liberal cuck or something? Like, what are we expecting here?
It'd be hard to go to a college and not find a bunch of those, but Vicky's a man. He knows what he's doing. He'll sift through them. He's a good judge of character. But yeah, always looking for help around here, and the show's growing, so it's good to hear that we're looking for more bodies and some talented people. So keep your eyes out for Vic roaming your campus if you are handy on the computer.
What would you do if Like he just brought some squids over and like, here you go. Here's your interns. How would you feel about that?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised, but this day and age, it's tough, man. It's tough to, I'm teaching my kids the value of hard work and what are expectations and what it means to be on time and what it means to do a job right. And I think there's still some kids out there that have got those character traits out there. So in Vic, we trust.
We do. Discipline, a big word here on this podcast. And speaking of which, I don't know if you've disclosed yet, but you're coaching a 13, is it a 13U team hockey?
Yeah, I'm head coaching a U13 AA team, and
you cracked the whip out there or what?
A little bit. I mean, within reason. You can't be too hard on NHL players these days, or they'll go into a shell. So you sure can't do it with 11 and 12-year-olds. But we're teaching them. They're at the age where you're teaching them the same type of thing: discipline, expectations, and doing things the right way and learning selflessness. All the reasons that I like my kids playing team sports is not just so they can go be on a team, but the life skills that you pick up. And there's a reason that companies and businesses like to hire athletes after their careers, and it's because they learn these things along the way. So definitely going to try to instill that in them. The schedule is kind of wild. We've had a tournament already, but man, like from the get-go, I'm somewhat in charge of evaluations and picking this team. There's a lot of evaluators and there's rankings and stuff that I got to go off of. But after last weekend, I got to cut my team down to the numbers, and it was so difficult. Like there's a lot of local kids that I know their families very well. My kids' friends are involved and had to make decisions on them. And I didn't want to be the guy that got into politics and, he made the team because he's friends with them, or this guy's friend, or they know them, or here. I said, I don't care if you're first year. I don't care where you played last year. Effort is everything to me. And, I'm trying to put together the best hockey team that I can. So, inevitably I got dad's texting me saying, what the hell? And I had my kid here and there, and it was just gross. I woke up at 4 a.m. and sick, feeling in my stomach. You start to second guess yourself. It was not fun at all. And I haven't really been part of that process. I didn't think it would be as hard. But man, it was a bit of a experience going through that. And yeah, hats off to any volunteers that have to do that stuff at the youth level, because that part of the process is not great when you're talking about kids.
What kind of roster did you put together? Like, are we saying it's a very pugnostic, gritty type roster? You got some soft players on that roster without naming names?
We got a little bit of both. I think
anybody
age,
do the gritty when they score on your team, or?
No, there's a lot of bow and arrows getting shot into the crowd, it seems like, or slicking the hair back, or heartbreaker. And I don't know. I learned early that you're not going to stop these kids from selling, and it seems like that's what they focus on. But for my team, it's it's the work ethic. It's if your skates are touching the ice, you are dialed, you are focused, you are working, and if you are doing that, your shifts can't be a minute and a half long. You go hard and you get the hell off. And, I'm trying to instill the fact that you are standing out like a sore thumb if you're standing there watching and gliding. And it's funny, they're right at that age where they're kind of able to compete, but they still have that little bit of, kid in them where they kind of just tune out for a little bit. So it'll be a process, but it's a lot of fun. They're at an age where they're starting to play hockey. So I'm excited to get them playing systems and understanding how the game works and how you support without the puck, and taking away time and space, and angling and cutting the ice in half, and forechecks and all that stuff, where they're working together. And when you see it come together, you're like, wow, that was hockey. They're playing hockey now. So it's a fun time to be a coach.
I would pay good money to watch a reality show based on Jay Rosehill coaching kids like that.
Well,
I think that would be tremendous stuff.
Well, do you know what Live Barn is? It's like every rink's got it, and there's microphones now and all the rest. And last year, no, sorry, it was these 2 years, I think we were coaching. No, it might have been last year. And it just happened to be this one game where their coach was like, I'm pretty chill on the bench. I'm not calling the ref over. I'm not yelling from the bench. Like, man, these kids are reffing, and yeah, they're not perfect, but I don't get too worked up where other coaches seem to. But this particular game, the refs were pretty all over the place. It was a physical, gritty, like pretty pretty intense game. Their coach was going ballistic. Our coaches on the bench were slamming gates and everyone's swearing. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like after the game, I was like, yeah, I got a little bit heated, guys. We got to keep that down. And then it turns out everyone's like, Live Barn was just mic'd. Your whole bench was mic'd. And we were just like, oh, here we go. I'm just waiting for an email. But luckily we escaped that one. Not that anything was crazy, but I like to keep it chill on the bench and not get too out of control. But my worst moments on the bench were on Live Barn, apparently. So lesson learned again. Everything is recorded and there's microphones on the benches these days.
Somebody go dig those up, please. Very, very please. I should have mentioned as well, with producer Vic on the road today, Zach Phillips filling in as producer. So welcome, Zach. And he's got a poll up here in the chat. Would Rosie allow his kids to gritty after scoring? The 4 options: yes, he's secretly soft, doesn't like it, but does nothing. Snap show, bench the kid, automatic cut from the team. Right now, the leader, 53% suggests yes, you're secretly soft. So there's your answer.
Well, I guess some parents were calling me soft because there was like an 8 a.m. game, an hour and 15 minutes away. And I was like, hey guys, like, don't be worried about being there an hour before this one. Just make sure your kid's ready to go and Dryland can wait. And people were like, man, Rosie's getting soft on these kids. I'm like, settle down. It blows my mind how the parents want this so badly to be the show at U13, but I'm not biting.
The great thing is you host the podcast. So number one, you got to get these kids on board. And number two, no doubt there has to be at least one parent watching or listening at some point here and being like, this is my area where I find out more about my kid on Leafs Morning Take. Nevertheless, I think a lot of these kids will ask you questions about fantasy hockey. Well, they're in luck. Are they ready to dominate your fantasy league? That's the question. Daily Faceoff has your back with the brand new DFO Fantasy Draft Kit. Your one-stop shop for everything you need to build the perfect fantasy hockey team. We're talking player projections, updated line combinations, power play units, sleeper picks, bust warnings, and team previews. Whether you're a seasoned vet or a fantasy rookie, this kit has everything you need to dominate your league. So before you make your first pick or panic in round 5, head on over to dailyfaceoff.com/draft/kit. And get your hands on the fantasy draft kit. Fantasy hockey domination starts at dailyfaceoff.com. Got a very fun guest on today's show a couple weeks back. He was named the new team host, Ryan Leslie, formerly of Sportsnet's going to drop by here in about 7 or 8 minutes, Rosie.
Yeah, that'll be good. A face that Leafs Nation will get very familiar with here sooner than later and far into the future, as he's headed east. He's been working out west in my neck of the woods for the Calgary Flames, and he's from Ontario, so I imagine it'll be fun to pick his brain and see how excited he is, and then find out exactly what his role is and what this is going to look like and what we can expect from him this year. So stay tuned for that. I think it'll be a good interview.
I like it. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review while you do so. And don't forget as well to visit theleafsnation.com. So the rookie prospect camp starts today in Toronto in preparation for the Prospect Showdown happening at the Bell Center in Montreal this weekend. The Leafs will play the Ottawa Senators on Saturday, the Montreal Canadiens on Sunday. Without question, the headliner will be Easton Cowan on this roster, Ben Danford as well, Noah Chadwick, and Artur Akhtamov, the young Russian netminder. But this has to be a weekend where I think if you're Easton Cowan, Rosie, you start to lay the groundwork for what is potentially a big season for you.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about him the other day at about what he's going to look like and whether he's close. And we all know there's a logjam of forwards going on at camp this year. Spots are up for grabs, and there's going to be some internal competition without question. So I think that's a pretty good opportunity for Easton to get into this tournament. Like, what an opportunity for everybody. I mean, a lot of the Marlies guys, Marlies coaches are going over there, and whether it's in a prospect camp or not, you throw that logo on over your shoulders and you go play somewhere like the Bell Center against the other teams. It's not quite the NHL, but it gives these guys a taste of it without question. And for Easton Cowan and those other guys in particular, before camp, it gives them an opportunity to get their legs under them, get some game speed going, and I think they'll hit the ground running because of this tournament. So great idea, pretty exciting too, and we'll have to watch for the results in that, as I imagine these guys will be pretty fired up.
So Marlies head coach John Gruden will oversee the roster over the weekend, but for me, it's more the bigger picture that this sort of signifies the beginning of the hockey season. Like, you see the prospects, and then you move from there. If you recall last year, We wanted to see a guy like Ben Danford. I believe he got banged up. Guys like Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan. It's like taking that unofficial next step. And certainly for somebody like Cowan, because, every indication suggests he's going to get a legitimate shot to be on this team. You want to see him really, really dominate and excel. And I think by far of the players I just mentioned, the marquee notes on the roster, like Cowan's a guy where I'm just zoned in on to see, because he's had like a couple years just thorough domination in junior hockey. Can he get to that next level? Like, ideally, you want to see him dominate and take that momentum into training camp next week. But even going over the roster, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Cowan to crack the opening night roster, at least for the Maple Leafs. My indication, my thought is that he's going to start the year in the AHL, but you just never know.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't know. I think that the brass is going to, just set the table and say, hey, you guys, show me something.
Yeah.
It's the NHL. I don't think they have plans for prospects, and they have an idea of how they want to develop them. But, if you're Easton Cowan and you come flying into camp and you set a precedent on the fact that you are ready and you want to take that jump, and you're standing off the page when you're watching these, ice times and scrimmages and exhibition games, and this guy's flying around. I mean, we know what this Leafs team wants to look like. We know some of the changes they've made to start to look a little bit different in their mentality out there. And if he wants to take the reins on that and be flying around with tons of intensity and be physical and work his bag off and then chip in offensively and lots of ozone time, and it's going to be tough to do, but there's players that are coming out of junior these days that can do it. And is he one of them? I think that's going to be one of the storylines of training camp for sure. A tall task. And we've talked about it before where, the jump from major junior is just, it's so huge. And I think we're already seeing it with Gavin McKenna going to the NCAA to try to bridge that gap a little bit. It's hard to see a guy who's that much better than all those kids in the WHLQ and the OHL and then, make that drastic step. Those guys are playing like, I went and watched Bedard, and he's absolutely floating around, and you're kind of going, what the hell? But they're playing him 30 minutes a night. And those coaches, sometimes I'm like, are you developing this kid, or are you just trying to win? Because it's not really conducive to what he's going to face when he's trying to make an NHL team. So there'll be some big adjustments made, as it is a huge jump. But again, some of these kids are so specialized in hockey, and their talent levels and their dedication to their craft is so strong that, it wouldn't surprise me if he made some noise in camp. And again, I think it'll be a big storyline.
Yeah, and I think in that role, you have the tendency to become complacent, to your point, when you look at guys like McKenna and Cowan. Like, there's only so far you can go at that level. And I think Nickel City Grunge puts it perfectly here in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401, where you can do so. Cowan has to take a job. Camp's going to be good. I agree with that. Like, I think on paper, you look, and we'll go over the potential line configurations a bit later on after Ryan Leslie drops by the show. But there's a plethora of forwards, man. Like, we're talking 15, 16 guys. And I think from that, just looking at that, you think it's going to be tough for Cowan. But I think there's been so many examples, not just in Toronto, but around the league over even the last decade, where a guy proves he can play at the NHL level. You make room for an Easton Cowan, essentially.
Yeah, you look at the roster, and who's it going to be? I mean, Yarncroke and Camp for kind of those guys we're looking at, Robertson, and then Cowan in that mix, where I do think they're going to be fighting for some spots. And I think that's a good thing at camp. But, going to different camps, sometimes you're like, oh my God, is there ever a log jam? And how many guys do I got to leapfrog? And there's other years where you get there and you're like, man, are they ever thin at my position? I think a job is mine if I go and impress. Other times it seems more daunting, but again, it's the NHL. It's what have you done for me lately? And whoever comes into camp and proves something, I think there's road ahead for them. And we talked before, like, we kind of know what to expect from Yarncroke and Camp and Robertson, as they've had lots of opportunity to be looked at and to see what they do out there. And then Cowan's kind of that question mark. Kids at that age, Sometimes they'll show they're not quite ready, and sometimes they'll spin their wheels a little bit and sputter, and you realize, it's not quite there. And other times you're like, my God, this kid is ready. And we're not sure what that's going to look like, but 100% there is a lot of forwards out there. And I imagine we'll see some competition even before we get to exhibition season with their scrimmages and stuff. I imagine the intensity level will be pretty high.
Man, if you count Cowan, that is 17 NHL forwards for what? 12 spots? Like it's 17, it'd be 16, excuse me, with Robertson. Like it's packed. It is packed up there.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a camp, and I'm really curious to see. I mean, decisions have to be made. Like the time's going to run out, and we're going to know who's on waivers or if a deal gets put together, which I don't know how, why hasn't that happened yet? If I don't see it happening at the 11th hour, but it's going to be difficult for those players. But again, competition can be good. Everyone's going to have to come in shape and be ready to rock.
Speaking of which, ready to rock. A couple weeks ago, we got news. I was over in Europe. I was jacked about this. Nevertheless, the new team host, Ryan Leslie of the Toronto Maple Leafs, drops by Leafs Morning Take for the first ever time. Ryan, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
With you. Sorry about the backdrop. We're just grinding away here, and I didn't secure a great backdrop for you, so apologies.
It's okay. First question I have for you. How happy are you to get away from the barn burner guys?
They never had me on, so I'm pleased to be with you instead. So yeah, I don't know what they're scared of, but maybe a rating spike. I'm not sure. No, it's great to be with you guys, and forget those guys.
Yeah, I agree. Pinder, who needs them? What, Ryan, you've been hanging out west in my neck of the woods for a long time, working and made a name for yourself and done a hell of a job. And now you're kind of headed back to the big market in Toronto. You're from Ontario. How exciting is that for you to get this job with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
It's massive, and I got to say, first and foremost, Calgary for almost 30 years was home. My two daughters were born there. A beautiful city, a great community, a great fan base. Just the community, I can't say enough about it. They really embraced me. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about it. As a Southern Ontario guy, though, it's great to be back this way. You got fall coming up here. Everybody knows, what this camp and what this season and hopefully what a deep playoff run would mean to this organization, to this fan base, to the community. So a massive opportunity. Really excited about it. Grew up down in Port Dover and was born up in Owen Sound. So those two towns I consider my hometowns, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. And you get a real sense, guys, of just we all know how much the Leafs mean. And now you get a sense. I've gotten this opportunity to kind of see behind the scenes in the last week that I've been here, just about what everybody's doing to make sure that they get off to a great start, what they are doing to try and make this year the most successful. So I know everybody watching just kind of wants to get right into it. And I know everybody wants to, enjoy the season and maybe even at times fast forward to the postseason and get things going. But I'm thrilled to be here. 1 weekend, learning a ton, meeting a lot of great people. And you do get a sense that the way the Leafs do it is, at the highest level. And that's wonderful. I mean, I think I always suspected that, being around it a little bit, either here or in Calgary when the Leafs would come to town, you get a chance to deal with them. But now I've had the chance to really see how top-notch everyone is and the way they go about their business.
What's been like seeing Tree again?
It's great. I worked with him, for him, in and around him for about a decade. And, certainly got a lot of respect for the way he handles his day-to-day business, the way he digs in. He's relentless. And and I love it because he gets not only the hockey side, he kind of gets what I'm trying to do, but he also understands what everybody around the organization is doing, and he values their expertise. And I think the one thing that even that I took away from when he first joined Toronto, we would I'd reach out and kind of have some conversations, and he understood the responsibility that he had to, the entire community, the entire fan base about what they're trying to do. He understands that responsibility, and it's infectious. He understands that this is the Leafs. This is, the name of the game, and this is what's most important, is to try and bring a championship here. So yeah, it's been great to be around him. Um, Great to see him. There's some guys on the ice now, and he and his staff are getting ready. So I've had a chance to meet with Craig Berube as well, and knew him a little bit from the past. And I worked with Mark Savard in Calgary for a season, and I know Newsy from going back to when he was with Tampa. So I feel, and of course Chris Tanev as well, and knowing some of the other guys who have all been great. And anytime I've been around them here in the last week or so, they've been wonderful with me. So a real comfortable feeling. Everybody's walked into the doors of a new job, and you're like, hey, I'm the new guy, but you kind of get over that real quick here. So that's been solid.
So, Ryan, what can fans expect from your role? What's that going to look like? What's your game day operations going to be like? What are we going to see you doing?
I think there's going to be, they kind of want to make this use their platforms to the highest level. So obviously their social platforms are big, and I think the biggest thing, guys, is we want to try and the access is really important, and maybe do some things a little bit differently. Obviously, the networks are what they're doing, and that's awesome. And I think what we're going to try and do is pull the curtain back a little bit, wherever it is, on the road, at home. Maybe have a nice pregame presentation. Hopefully, get some. We're so blessed in this city to have incredible alumni, players who buy in, and just so many people that are in the rink on a constant basis. So I think just trying to give a real sense of a little bit more access, a little bit more I don't want to say fun, but I think just trying to show some of these guys some personalities that they have, and use this on all of Leaf platforms and channels. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of work in progress, but I think just the idea of giving fans more of this team, more of another side of it, and kind of showing who these guys are, from the hockey side of it to the hard work side of it to the personal side of it. I think there's a lot there, and I don't know how much of what we're saying is overly new, but hopefully what we're bringing is really new, really fresh, because again, everybody here gets it, and it's great. I don't think anybody has to be convinced about how important this team is to the community and to its fan base. So hopefully we can try and just show another side of it, and much more of it. And I know everybody on board is excited about it.
The most important question I can ask you were the iEmoji tweets in the contract. And July 1st, 2026, can we expect like 17 or 97 iEmojis when McDavid comes home?
Oh, wow. Just going for it, huh?
Hell yeah.
I mean, I think the eye emojis are just a nice little fun way of saying maybe something's coming down the pipe. So I try not to abuse it. It's something that I've tweeted in the past when some trades or something big was coming, and yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason to stop now at this point. But yeah, hopefully we have some news here throughout this season, next season, the following season. I mean, I'm not this whole debate goes predates me. So as far as who and free agency land and all the other speculation that comes with it. So I'm not ready to jump into that stuff just yet. Maybe give me another week before we start ruffling feathers. But I can imagine everybody's talking about so many different things across the league. But I'll keep those eyes going if I'm allowed here.
And we always like to ask guys when they make a big move, how did it come about and where were you? And to you mentioned how long you've been out west, and to make that big move with your family and everything else. How did it come about, and was it a tough decision, and what was that process like?
Yeah, it was pretty wild, guys, because honestly, I don't know if it was tough, but it was big. And I have two daughters, and so I moved one into university out in Nova Scotia, which was huge. And this, deal had pretty much already been agreed upon. So I had to get one into university in Nova Scotia. Then my youngest and I fly out of Nova Scotia back to Calgary, get her situated in high school, and then I got here, and it was just everything in life, all these really big moments. You think about, oh, getting your kid off to school and and then, oh, I'm starting to, well, I just thought I'd throw it all within a week. So that was a lot. And it's good though. Lots of dialogue, lots of family FaceTime. And hopefully my girls will come and join me for Thanksgiving. But yeah, it was just an ongoing conversation um, that really started to pick up this summer, and knowing, and chatting with a number of people in the organization, knowing what a priority they wanted this to be. And moving parts, as I say, work in progress. But I think just understanding, especially even now, in chatting with Keith Pelly in the past, in chatting with the good folks that are, on in so many different departments here, seeing sort of what they have with what I know I want to do. I'm excited about it. So it really picked up late summer, and the conversations had kind of gone throughout. So it was a big decision, but it was one where I thought, this is the challenge that you want in the biggest and best market in the country and in the game. So let's do this. Let's roll up the sleeves. I know, I got a lot of respect for Brad and know what he wants, and certainly the staff around him and the players themselves. So excited to work with all of them in all the different departments. And yeah, I mean, camp and preseason, and then, when it starts to get going for real, it's going to be a thrill of a lifetime, and of a career as well.
Yeah, and I mean, not to pump your Jets too much, because I really, really enjoyed your work over at Sportsnet, but I just think this is a really good role and a perfect role for somebody like you. And I think an important role. Like, that's the one thing in doing 3 years of this podcast that Rosie and I wanted to chomp into, was like getting the personalities of some of these guys. Like, we had Matthew Nyes on last week, another couple
Yeah.
big interviews coming away over the next couple weeks. Like, to get that aspect is a lot more difficult in Leafs Nation, but I think you're the perfect person to get that out of these guys. Having said that, is there one player specifically that you're really, really excited to cover among them all?
Well, you mentioned Matthew Nyes, and I'm excited to watch him play in person. I've only seen him play live a couple of times. I mean, obviously, watch the games and watch the postseason, and I know he just did the media tour, and he's just here now, and that's a player I'm excited to watch kind of grow. Young guy, what a frame, what talent. I've been around Auston a little bit, and certainly Willie, and just some of these guys. They're just such game breakers. But I'm also really, I'm a big Tanev guy. I worked with him in Calgary, so I just love the guy. He's just a beautiful human. So there's some guys that I really want to get to know. There's some guys certainly excited to watch, and just be around, getting to know so many of these new faces too. Doesn't matter where they are on the depth chart. Just kind of, and they've been great with me, just wonderful. So I look forward to that continuing and telling some of their stories, and hopefully trying to make it a little easier for them on in terms of their availabilities, and making them enjoy it, because I know they get pulled in so many different directions that it's a challenge. So I did see your Matthew Nyes. That's a great one, and yeah, best of luck with that. I'm pumped to kind of do more of the same.
Yeah, and you mentioned some new faces kicking around. Obviously, changes have been made this summer with the organization, and a lot of bodies there, a lot of forwards, a lot of competition. What are your thoughts about the intensity level of camp, and how they're going to eventually form this final roster?
Well, it's pretty new for me, and I don't know if I can gauge it just yet in terms of that intensity, but I do know that they've gotten bigger, and everybody here is just so committed to it. It's very businesslike, but it's very, very much a team already, considering what's about to take place here with camp and everything else. So you know I think for me, I'm just observing at this point, getting a sense of it. I'm by no means an expert with this roster at this point, but I'm pumped to kind of dig in and see, where this thing shakes down. Who's playing with whom? Who's making this thing? What? Easton Cowan, had a chat with him the other day. So just so many different things that I'm kind of watching as a first timer, that I can't wait to see this thing ratchet up. And obviously everybody understands the assignment here, and it's just continue to win, continue to be, a hardworking group. And, with Chief, it's infectious. So I can't wait to be around him to see, this identity unfold, because I think every year, right? You seem to get somewhat of a new identity because of those new faces and some of those guys that have exited. So I can't wait to see who's going with who and who is really helping forge that identity. And I think, to your original question, I think we're going to start to get a real grasp of that here right away with camp, because there's not a lot of time, as we know, and it's time to get going for these guys. And a lot of these guys have been here all summer, just grinding away and putting in the work. So thrilled to kind of see that firsthand.
So Ryan, as mentioned, you come from Calgary. You're there for a long time. Obviously, a big topic of focus in this market, especially since Brad Treliving came over, was the Calgary Flames. Do you think we put too much stock into this whole narrative that the Leafs and Flames can't get together on a deal? Like, obviously, you've been locked in with that team. Now with this
Yeah.
team, you think it's overblown a bit?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about overblown. I mean, people would love to see certain things, and I know they talk, and I know Craig Conroy and Brad Treliving are close, and they have regular dialogue. And I don't know if it's just got to be the right fit, from an offer to two parties coming to agreement on it. So I don't know if it's overblown. I mean, if there's something that you really want, if you're a Leaf fan out of Calgary, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything preventing it. It's hard, as you guys and everybody watching and listening knows. It's hard to make deals. It's not as we all want deals. We all want the juice of making and pulling the trigger, making a deal, but there's a lot of things that go into it. So I know they're trusted uh, former colleagues and personal friends, and certainly both wearing the GM's caps, that I think, if the right fit were to be there, certainly there'd be an ability to make a deal. So there's some pieces on both sides. I know in the past that everybody's pointed to that, hey, why wouldn't that make sense? And there's always reasons for it, but there's no reason to suggest it can't and won't happen in the future.
To wrap, I have a request. What are the
Hmm.
chances we can get the Spider-Man meme with you and Newsy Lalonde? Can we get that, please? Just like the pointing at each other.
I think he and I should just cruise around the concourse some game, uh, and just see who's who. And I just thought it would make a great reality show, wouldn't it? Called Buds. And he and I just, behind the scenes look at two ball guys trying to make it in the big smoke.
You already
Oh,
thought
dude,
about it.
incredible. We had Newsy on a couple of times. He's the absolute best. So are
Isn't
you.
he great?
Congratulations. Welcome home, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure, okay?
Thanks for having me, guys. Means a lot.
Thanks,
And yeah,
Ryan.
we will talk for sure. Thanks.
Take care. Our pleasure. That's Ryan Leslie, the new team host of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and looking forward to the content that he puts out there. I think he's a really good fit for this type of role, has the relationship, so I think we're actually going to get quite a bit out of this new role with the Maple Leafs, Rosie.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you can tell well-spoken guy, knows what he's doing, knows what he's out to do. And I like the point of, he's going to try to do some different things and bring some access to the fans about what goes on in the organization. I know they've kind of got a reputation of keeping things pretty close to their vest and, just opening the curtain just for a peek. But maybe he's going to be able to pull it back and find a way that's going to benefit the team. And obviously, that's what the fans are looking for too. I just always think about being a kid and any type of inside access you can get to a player that's beyond just the regular post-game interview. You just gobble that up because you love the game so much or your team so much, and you just want to see what that league is like and what the players in it are like. So any extra access that he plans to bring to the table, I think is pretty exciting for sure.
I'll be honest, I don't feel much better about the prospects of the Leafs and the Flames getting together in a deal anytime soon.
He didn't seem too positive about
No.
it.
LJ writes in, it's not Conroy. The owner is another story with Shree. That's so unfortunate because, dude, there's one of your former teammates. I'm telling you right now, if things go south with the Calgary Flames, which some expect, because I think negative regression is going to be part of that conversation in Calgary. We saw Dustin Wolf get that extension the other day, and rightfully so. But I think you compare them and stack them to the rest of the Western Conference. Like, can they play up to that level again is my major question. There's going to be some names out there, whether it's Rasmus Anderson, and who knows these guys better than most, and that's Brad Treliving. But Nazem Kadri, man, like I don't think this is the last we've heard of his name linked to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it just seems like that's going to be a difficult deal to put together for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, as Ryan mentioned, all deals are difficult to put together, and
True. Yeah.
Everyone's trying to, everyone wants to see it come across their phone or across the ticker that big deals are made, and people get impatient. Why hasn't Tree done something? Well, it is very difficult. It's rare that deals get put together and everyone's like, I'm happy with that. The other side, I'm happy with that. No one feels like they're getting dicked. Everyone's ego is intact, and you pull the trigger and send in the paperwork. It's a lot easier said than done. But yeah, and there's an extra level of what we just spoke of, where there seems to be a little bit of animosity between these two organizations. And but like you said, I think that it's a professional business, and the cream will rise to the top if you need a player and they need to unload somebody, and two teams just need to get into a position where it makes sense. And we'll keep tabs on that down the road. But like you said, I imagine Nazem Kadri's name will come up more than a few times this season.
Another guy, as Donnie Does Dishes brings up, is Blake Coleman. Like, there's a lot of players on the Flames I would like to be in Toronto. But again, hearing Ryan Leslie's comments, I do not feel positive about the potential of that coming together. And if they did make a deal, I think Toronto has to overpay. I mean, in some respect, we saw it with Zadorov and Tanev when those guys are available. And like, they just didn't even think twice. One went to Dallas, one went to Boston. They're like, no thanks. Even though we have no clue what the Maple Leafs offered. Nevertheless, at the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to the lines. So, to Ryan's point, we've heard a lot more from the Leafs in general prior to camp than we ever have before. Craig Berube did a one-on-one, I believe, with Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, said he's non-committal on line assignments. It sounds like it could be an open battle. So I thought it'd be a fun exercise for you and I to say the lines of what we think Craig Berube is thinking, and support a note, not what we're thinking, what Craig Berube is thinking. So I'll take a first stab at this. And we just talked about this off the top, dude. There's like 3, 6, 9, 12, like 16 names for 12 spots, maybe 13 spots if you carry an extra forward. But I would go with Nyes, Matthews, Domi. I think Max Domi is going to get the first crack on that top line. If you read in between the lines, everything everybody's been saying, the way Berube acknowledged Max Domi, that trio has played together in the past. I think they get that first look to see what they can do there in the top line. Then I think he goes Michelli, Tavares, Nylander. I think it's natural. Michelli's a playmaker. I think it's important to stress, like, people have these lofty expectations of Matias Michelli. He's coming off a dreadful season where he really couldn't find his footing in Utah, of all places. So I'm reserving judgment, but I think we have to temper our expectations. That said, I think you have to put him in a role to excel and produce, and that's, for me, with Tavares and Nylander. I think that's what Ruby's thinking. The third line, I think, writes itself, especially with the familiarity with Dakota Joshua. He talked about him the last couple of days, did Craig Berube. I would go Joshua, Waugh, and McMahon in the third line, which leaves 6 guys for the final 3 slots. What I think they'll do is go Lorentz, Lawton, and Yarncroke, barring any trades. I think it's quite clear Kampf, Yarncroke, Robertson are on the trade block, but it comes down to who the hell wants these guys, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think waivers is going to be brought into play, and there's going to be players that didn't expect to be on waivers at this point in their career with the contracts they have and whatnot that might end up being on them. Again, trades are difficult to happen. There's a log jam of bodies. You're going to have a final roster at some point in time. And I think the time crunch is going to catch up to them, and they'll have to, exercise some waivers, which is difficult. Who that's going to be, I think you got to watch camp and you got to watch preseason and see who's stepping up and see who had a good summer and see who's healthy and see who's hungry. With the lines, I pretty much agree with you, but there's 2 sides of it. Like you mentioned, Michelli, a couple of years ago, his best year, I mean, he was a playmaker. I think he's got a real high ceiling, but he's coming off of a rough year, as you mentioned. So there's kind of 2 sides of it. Do you put him with, say, Auston Matthews and see if you can get his feet under him, see if you can get his confidence going, see if you can get him in a place where he's thrilled to be here and he can flourish? Or would that be pressure off the top and he's coming off a rougher year? Is that going to be too much to handle, too much spotlight, too much responsibility maybe? Or it's the 2 sides. But I do know that we've lost Mitch Marner, and you need a guy that's a playmaker. I think at some point in time, sooner than later, we're going to see Michelli with Matthews and see if they can get some chemistry going. Like Chief said, he's not committed to any of the lines for sure. So I imagine they'll bounce around a little bit. Most of what you said, I agree with, but I don't think it's going to be long, if it's not right off the bat, to see Michelli and Matthews together.
So many bodies, bodies. And maybe that's why they're still linked to like a Jack Roslovic. They just have nowhere to put the guy right now. It's like, why bring him in and add another body and then just, kill the trade value even more for Kampf and Robert? Like, I just don't know who want. Like, I know a report came out today that the Leafs are open to trading Nick Robertson. Like, no kidding. That's been the case for like 3 years. I don't know who's going to go call in the Maple Leafs now and be like, we'll give you anything good for these guys. Like, to your point, I think we're looking at waivers, or we're looking at a complete dump where it's like future considerations. I don't expect much in return, but you're at a point where you got to make room, or you're going to cut some guys. We talked about cutting earlier on. Like, could you envision David Kampf playing on the Toronto Marlies this season?
Yeah, it would be, I mean, I can. Stranger things have happened, but just his contract is like, wow, what a drop. And I can't say I agree with the contract in the first place. I thought it was very heavy, and I was kind of surprised Tree gave that to David Kampf. I know he does little things and can be responsible, and D-zone effectiveness and all the rest of it. But for that money on that term, I was surprised to see it. And sometimes those contracts catch up to guys and end up being their Achilles heel. And that might be Kampf's story this year. We're going to wait and see. But again, I think there's opportunity for guys to not reinvent themselves, but just show they have a different side to them, show they can bring more, read the writing on the wall and say, I understand what you're looking for. Now let me show you that I can be that guy for you. It's going to be interesting to see throughout preseason and camp if anyone's standing out and starts to create some buzz around themselves as being that guy. But inevitably, there's going to be some really difficult decisions, and there's going to be some, I always talk about, peaks and valleys as a professional hockey player. They come at you really fast. Sometimes you're just flying high and you get blindsided by some movement, and sometimes you feel like you're a million miles away, and all of a sudden the floodgates open and you get to step up a bunch of notches. But inevitably, I think there's going to be some players on this roster who are going to find themselves in a valley, and it's going to be difficult. I don't know what that'll entail, but it could entail some waivers, as we mentioned, and some time on the Marlies perhaps, or maybe even getting picked up by someone else, and away you go. But I know that at the professional level, especially with an organization like the Leafs, they never like to dick anybody. They understand these are people and they care about them. And if they're not in their plans for the season or for the future, they're always willing to create some opportunity for them to continue to flourish and have a good career. So again, it's going to be some really difficult decisions just based on the numbers.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. Let's zone in on that Blue Jays game this afternoon, 3 Eastern start time. I like the under 7.5. I think it's playoff baseball. We're seeing both offenses have been stymied so far in the series. If I'm picking a side, it's probably Houston. As I mentioned to you off the air the other day, they just played Toronto really, really tough. They've had the lead in the first 2 games. They blew the first one, almost blew the second one. But I would probably play the over-under. So under 7.5 is what I'm taking officially.
Yeah, and I got them here at 8.5. So I am taking the under as well, and going to follow the pattern that they've had at the first 2 games of this series. I think there is 5 and 7 runs scored respectively in the first 2 games. So I'm going to jump on that under as well and see if it is another defensive battle.
All right, bud. Good stuff. Many thanks again to Zach Phillips for spelling producer Vic, who, if you missed it off the top, is on the road right now looking for interns at a nearby college. So
we got
to get a rundown
behind the scenes there to start.
I did
sorry
early
about
on.
That, Zach. Shout out to him at the helm there. It's nice when we lose Vicky. We got a guy like him who can step in and make things happen behind the scenes. So thank you, Zachariah.
Seamless, for sure. Thank you to everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Ryan Leslie, thank you so much to him for dropping by the show. And I guess I'll get back together on Tuesday, Rosie. We're going to break down the Prospect Showdown from over the weekend and look ahead to training camp next week. How about that?
That's crazy that's almost already here. And we are going to pound out some interviews with some interesting people, not to give too much away, but I think, when we talk about access to the team and whatnot, there'll be some interviews coming down the pipe that I think people will enjoy. So stay locked on this channel for those coming down the barrel.
Eyeball emojis for sure. Thank you again to Zach Phillips. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.